hold the rank of a colonel and have many years, some 36 years of experience. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Is it normal for a colonel to investigate a matter like this?
Is it normal to investigate?
For a colonel, 36 years experience to investigate a matter like this.
It's very difficult to answer that one, Your Worship. Any alleged offence or offence that was committed, irrespective of a person's rank, if you are assigned to investigate, you will investigate that matter.
How many other matters do you have involving discharge of firearm in public places, Colonel?
Worship, I cannot recall now, but there is a lot of cases which are investigated where firearms was used, people were killed.
I want to put to you, sir, that it's highly unusual for a colonel, assisted by a brigadier, who's now a general, to investigate a matter of this nature. Do you have any comment?
Your Worship has indicated that any alleged offence or offence that is assigned to you, you will investigate, irrespective of the person's rank.
Now, being the investigating officer, you were in charge of the docket in this matter, and you know, by way of example, that it comprises of at least 135 statements. Do you agree with me?
Statements was submitted and reports were submitted, Your Worship. It is sampled into the docket, that's correct.
So, Colonel, that's not the question. You know that the A club comprises of up to A135. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, you proceeded to tell this court that upon arrival you sought permission to interview the people that had worked there, being the stadium manager and the employees and staff that were on duty at the time of the EFF's 5th anniversary celebration. Is that correct?
Your Worship, permission was granted that the ground staff that was on duty on the day when we were there, we can interview them. And then 2 witnesses was identified.
You never mentioned of your own accord that there were South African Police Service VIP Protection Services members present. Do you agree with me?
During my evidence?
Yes.
Yes, correct. That's correct, Your Worship.
Why not?
Your Worship, it was not deliberate. It's just because of, I can answer that one. It was not deliberate or intentional not to inform the court of the personal protectors that was not there. It is just a recollection when Mr. Matthews raised it now.
Colonel, I'm going to argue that it was deliberate, and I'm going to explain to you why. You had, as you've recorded, this docket under your control. You're aware of each and every one of these SAPS VIP protection members who were present and deposed to statements. Do you agree with me?
Your Worship, as I indicated, I was aware of the 2 personal protectors from the Eastern Cape that we interviewed.
And I'm going to show you aware of more than 2 that so be it. Would you also confirm, sir, that A5 in the docket is a statement by the stadium manager, Julius, who told you that he saw nothing in relating to shooting? Is that correct?
If it's reflected in that statement, that's correct, Your Worship.
If you doubt it, I can show it to you, sir.
No, it's
Now, progressing through the docket, would you confirm that you've made, last count was 22 statements relating to this matter?
I can confirm, Your Worship.
And I want to put to you that there are several persons that you interviewed yourself who told you they hadn't seen any shooting, they're unaware of any danger or any risk of danger on the night in question. Do you agree with me?
That is correct, Your Worship.
You never mentioned that either in your evidence in chief. Do you agree?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Once again, you're going to tell the court it was unintentional. Do you agree?
I understand, Your Worship.
Now, going through the docket, you also had the affidavit of a specialist bomb technician, explosive section, a bomb technician, who also covered the field and found nothing there. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
A13. So you conducted a sweep of the whole field with bomb technicians, with metal detectors, and nothing was found. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Why did you not mention this, Colonel?
Your Worship, the investigation is vast, as indicated by Mr. Oldest, that Mdntv, it's again, I emphasize to court that it's not deliberate or intentional.
I'm going to take you through in the chronology of the docket, Colonel, that you also interviewed a Lunga and Bele who explained how they did a complete search of the sail or tent, as referred to in the statement, and no damage whatsoever was found in the sail or tent. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Sorry, I'm going to apologize in advance for asking this question. Why did you not mention it in your evidence in chief, sir?
As repeated, Your Worship, it was not intentional.
Once again, unintentional omission. Agreed.
Unintentional.
But you agree with me that there was a statement by a Captain Lunga, Harvey and Bele who went there and checked the tent or sail and found no damage whatsoever, which would be indicative of no firearm shooting a bullet through the sail or the tent that was on site at the time. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Yet, in your evidence in chief, you made no mention whatsoever of this. You agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
You tell this court that was an unintentional omission. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
You then, I'm going through, as I said, the sequence, fairly conceded that there was a fingerprint analysis, but that was negative. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
It wasn't really negative, sir. It did find fingerprints. Do you agree with me?
The fingerprints was found, as I indicated, Your Worship, but nobody could be linked to it.
So the official finding is that there were identifiable fingerprints, but they didn't tie back to these two accused. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
But there were clear identifiable fingerprints that could have been compared to the cleaner who found the rounds, to the people that held and handled the rounds. Did you do that, Colonel?
Just
I'll rephrase it. Did you ask the fingerprint expert to see whether it's the fingerprint of the cleaner or the persons that handled that spent cartridge?
Your Worship, exclusions was made, and then, like I explained, that found on the cartridge.
And now I'm going to turn, Colonel, to that which Mr. Matthews has touched on, but I'm going to show you it's far more detailed than what you would like this court to accept. First, there was the various statements of Mr. Quatta, who said that he never saw any shooting or firing of firearms. Do you agree with that?
I agree, Your Worship.
That was the Gearhouse employee, is that correct? The Gearhouse employee, Mr. Quatta.
That's
He
correct.
made, I think, 4 or 5 statements, is that correct?
Your Worship, I'll accept what.
Yeah. But then we turn to the VIP protection services personnel that you have their statements in the docket, is that correct? The first one, if you want to check, is A65, a Sergeant Andile Kuma, Quma, one of the members from the SAPS Protection Security Services East London. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
And he told you in no uncertain terms that he was unaware of any shooting. Do you agree?
That's correct, Your Worship.
He was even asked, and I'll show you this, what firearm he had, and he confirmed that he had a Glock 9mm. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, he also explained that he had 30 rounds and he returned with 30 rounds. Do you agree with that?
It's reflected in the statement, Your Worship. That's correct.
And that the people from the National Protection Services were armed with R5 rifles. That's correct.
Correct, Your Worship.
So the obvious inference that you're trying to draw is that these people were armed, they knew what firearms were, but they claimed to have not seen any shooting. Is that correct?
As indicated, Your Worship, they indicated that they didn't see any shooting.
A66 in the docket is the second member of the SAPS Eastern Cape Protection Security Services, a Sergeant Ngisa Morrison Nzelani, Nzelani, who gave you a very similar statement that he had not seen any shooting. He was at the event, in charge of accused number 1, security. That he had a 9mm Glock with 30 rounds, and that other persons who were there from the Gauteng division, and he was required to identify them and did so. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
And he said to you in no uncertain terms, or that the 3 colleagues from the National Protection Security Services had come through and were assigned to escort and protect accused number 1. Do you agree with that?
That he did what?
That he had met the 3 members who had been assigned to escort accused number 1 and protect him. Is that correct? So in all, you were aware of 5 official members of the South African Police Service who were there to protect and escort accused number 1 and were at the event and on the stage at the material time. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
I'm repeating myself, and I admit it. This was not mentioned by you in chief. It was what you call an unintentional omission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You then received the statements from the other police officers from the Gauteng. Is that correct?
I did receive that, yes, Your Worship.
And the first one was a P-H-E-E-H-A, Edwin Khare. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with the names, but there were 3, Your Worship.
A67. The second was the person that I think you may have made reference to, Thomas Chowkey from the VIP Protection Services. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
A68. And the third was Laheni Colin Nengovela. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we have 5 official members of the South African Police Service who were there present and never expressed any fear or any danger on account of any firearms being shot in public places. Is that correct?
They did not see anything. That's correct, Your Worship.
And as you said, no, they did not see anything, but nobody reported any offense or arrested anybody for any conduct on that night. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Over and above those police officers, we also received the statement that you took the oath on from a Sergeant Belona Kondleke. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Please tell the court what that person did.
Can you just repeat the
Kondleka.
surname?
First name is Belona, Bellona. The surname is Kondleka, Kondleka.
Your Worship, Sergeant Kondleka was assigned, if I'm correct, to the stadium, assisting Colonel Nkwali at the night, during the celebrations in the VOC room.
And also, the VOC, you mean the Venue Operations Center?
That's correct, Your Worship.
And once again, also never
Was reported to me.
another unintentional omission, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Some legal statements, I apologize, Your Worship. Even the last statement in the docket, A135, to identify it for you, sir, is the statement of Mandisa, and I'm going to spell this name to Ngqengqa, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
What role did she play?
Your Worship, I cannot, if you can read it.
She was in charge of the fireworks display, do you remember that?
The bomb expert. That's correct, Your Worship.
She said that there's nothing of significance. The fireworks display ran smoothly, there was no issue relating to it, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
It began at 1843 and ended at 1905, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
And on our version of the docket, that's the last statement in the A clip, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, had any of these police officers become aware of any untoward conduct, you have agreed already they had a duty to report such conduct. Do you agree with me?
If they became aware of it, that's correct, Your Worship.
Similarly, if they were in close proximity to a man who was firing a firearm that constituted a danger to the public, they had a duty to take action. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Not one of them did. Do you agree with that?
They were not made aware of anything? Yes, that's correct, Your Worship.
No, I never asked you whether they were made aware or not. I said not one of them made any such reports to you. I'll repeat it for you. Not one of them made any report of illegal conduct to you. Do you agree?
That's correct in the statements.
Even when you approached them and said, listen, there's been a shooting, there's a firearm that was shot in the public, are you aware of it? They all said, I never saw anything, or I was unaware of it. You agree with that?
That's correct, Your Worship.
From which one can infer that nobody ever felt at risk. Do you agree with me? From which one can infer that not one of them was at risk. Do you agree with me?
During the interviews, Your Worship, none of them indicated as stated.
And the purpose of your interviews with these VIP members and other police members was to ascertain whether they had any knowledge of the incident. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Yet, when you commenced testifying here, you said there were only 2 witnesses who identified that indicated that they had knowledge of this incident. Is that correct?
There were 2 witnesses.
Yes. He said the purpose of the interviews was to establish whether they knew about the incident and gather information of the incident. 2 witnesses were identified.
That is now referring to the ground personnel at the
Yes.
stadium. Okay. For clarity for the
Your Worship, when we arrived at the stadium, 2 witnesses were identified that was cleaning the stadium on that Monday, and then one of them recovered the cartridge casing.
Now you referred to a reconstruction of the site or the scene, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Who reconstructed the scene?
The witness that picked up the cartridge casing
Did what?
and pointed out where she picked up that cartridge casing.
Is that what you call a reconstruction?
Your Worship, that scene then is reconstructed.
When you refer to a reconstruction of the scene, it created the impression, at least in my mind, that they then rebuilt the stadium to see how everything had unfolded. Is that not the case, Colonel?
No, Your Worship.
So there's no reconstruction. She was asked to point out or identify where she had found the spent cartridge. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
I want to put to you that can never be referred to as a reconstruction. So do you have any comments?
Your Worship, that's my understanding of what we did.
So there's never been a reconstruction of the stage with the sail on top to try to reconstruct how the scene was at the time of the alleged commission of the offence. Do you agree with me, Colonel?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Why not, Colonel?
Your Worship, the most important was the witnesses that we identified that indicated as to where they found that cartridge casing.
Colonel.
And a photo was taken then of the different angles of the stadium.
I might be out of time, but I want to put you, Colonel, that's a pointing out, not a reconstruction. Do you agree with me?
Pointing out and thereafter reconstruction.
But nothing was reconstructed. You can give it any fancy terminology you want. You never reconstructed it. He said to her, where did you find it? She pointed to a piece in the felt where she found it, and that was it. That's not a reconstruction.
Your Worship, this is my understanding.
And it becomes significant, Colonel, because of the conclusion that you reach later on that I'm still going to get to. You then became aware of a video that had gone viral, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever
Your Worship, as indicated, the source was not identified.
So as you stand here, some 5 years later, you do not know who was the video taker of that video, the photographer, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Have you ever attempted to investigate that, Colonel?
Your Worship, as I indicated, the source was not found.
That's not the question, sir. Have you ever attempted to investigate who was the photographer of the video?
So in other words, the source will be the photographer of that video clipping that went viral.
I'm going to give you a third chance, Colonel. Have you ever attempted to identify the photographer of that video?
Your Worship, the source could not be found, the photographer in other words.
I want to put you, Colonel, it's clear from the docket you never even bothered to try to look for the source of the video. Do you have any comment?
Your Worship, the source could not be identified through several inquiries that we conducted.
Colonel, there are 23 statements by you, 22 or 23 statements by you in the docket, not one refers to any attempts to find the source of the video. Do you agree with me?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Whereas when it came to sweeping the field and finding nothing, you recorded that. When it came to VIP protection officers that were there but saw nothing, you recorded that. When it comes to ascertaining the source of the video, there's no statement anywhere dealing with any attempt to do so. Do you agree with me?
There's no statement to that effect, Your Worship.
From which I want to put you, I infer that there was no attempt made to ascertain who had made that video. Do you have any comments?
Your Worship, through all that investigation and inquiries conducted, although there's no statement reflecting that, nobody came forward, and through, like I said, indicated through the investigation, nobody came forward, and through inquiries, we could not establish the source of that particular viral clipping.
Colonel, you've told us AfriForum opened the docket. You told us another organization, you weren't certain of the name, opened the docket. Did you ask any of these people about the source of this video footage?
Your Worship, that complainants, they never came forward. Even with the feedback, they never came forward in relation to the source of that particular clipping.
You're not answering the question, I'll let you leave it. What purpose did it then serve to take your phone and download a disc that was then sealed in a tamper-proof bag when you never knew where the chain actually began? Colonel, we can wait all day.
I'm waiting for the magistrate to give me a signal to answer, Your Worship.
That's the first. But still wait.
It's how we've been operating. Maybe you didn't notice.
Your Worship, it formed part of the evidence when we started the investigation.
I want to put to you, Colonel, just to create some veneer of respectability to a purported chain of custody that never really existed. Do you have any comment?
Your Worship, it formed part of the investigation.
So you have a video that you, on my version, never ever bothered to, on your version, never ascertained the source of, and now you start sealing it in tamper-proof bags. Is that correct?
Your Worship, as indicated, it formed part of the investigation.
And we've established through the experts that even when you received it, you did not compare the hashtag values of it to when it was later utilized by the Forensic Sciences Laboratory. Do you agree with that?
Your Worship, I cannot comment on that expert evidence.
You know, we heard about a hard drive of this video. Do you have any knowledge of it?
If the advocate can elaborate on that.
The court heard yesterday of a hard drive that had been created of this video. Do you have any knowledge of that hard drive?
Created by who, Your Worship?
I'm not yet to answer your question, sir. The court heard of a hard drive of the video that was referred to in this court. Do you have any knowledge of that hard drive?
I'm not aware of that, Your Worship.
Now, when you took your official, as you referred to it, cellular phone, and as you said, your official handset, and handed it in for the downloading of the video recording, did you tell the people, this is my official handset.
That is correct, Your Worship.
So you told them it's your official handset, and then did you say to them, please download all the information on this phone, or did you direct them to one particular portion of the information on the phone, Colonel?
They were directed to the video clippings, the viral clippings, Your Worship.
So you said, on your version, here's my phone, please download only this video clip, these video clippings, and then return it to me. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And from there the chain begins. Prior to that, you agree there's no chain of custody. Do you agree, Colonel?
It was handed in, it was extracted, and it was handed back to me.
I'm going to ask you the question again, Colonel. From there the chain begins. Do you agree that prior to your doing so there was no chain of custody?
From me to them, that's correct, Your Worship.
And in your evidence before this court, you said that it depicts accused one firing shots and accused two receiving a firearm from accused one, and then you quickly qualified that by saying it appeared to be a firearm. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, you have referred to the facial recognition that was done at your request. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
You also requested firearm recognition. Do you agree?
That's correct, Your Worship.
I'm going to give you your answer. You didn't mention it because it was an unintentional omission. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Please explain to this court why you never mentioned the request for firearm recognition, Colonel.
You should have that.
I'm not sure my notes indicates that he did mention for firearm and facial. It was the words that he used.
Indeed,
Yes.
so, Advocate.
I will rephrase. Thank you. No, I apologize. Unequivocally.
Don't have to apologize.
No, if I got it wrong, I got it wrong. I want to put you, Colonel, that you never said that the firearm was not recognized as a result of the tests. Do you have any comment?
Okay.
Your Worship, I mentioned that she could not, in her report, identified.
I think if I quote him correctly, Advocate Otis, and I stand identify the persons, but I will look for the evidence if that will assist you.
It says so, Your Worship.
You want me to have a
I
look? Or,
missed it, I accept it.
no, you can consult with the others who took notes, and I can assist you as well. Don't want you to accept something you're not
Your Worship,
comfortable
I
with.
have, my note reads as follows.
Yes.
Simultaneously, as part of the investigation, I also requested Warrant Officer Steenkamp to get sample images of accused one and accused two, and requested her to compile a facial comparison to identify accused one and accused two from the photo album and CD. A report was submitted to me by Warrant Officer Steenkamp with both accused one and accused two. She could identify through her methodologies by means of facial comparisons. The CD from Captain Boot was also handed in as an exhibit. I don't have anything about the firearm.
Okay, thereafter, it comes later. I'll just look for it and read to you if I
have
find.
notes of muzzle flash towards the end.
He stopped
He
it.
Yes.
was referring to the, say he was made a second request with the DR footage where he specifically asked for that.
Yes.
He was unable to do
I'm
so.
getting to that, then I will read it into the record, then you may see if you. It just comes a bit further down. Nearly there, just a minute. Okay, here we go. Advocate Hodes. It goes way after that part of his evidence. He testified the footage was downloaded and still photos were also. It's difficult to see. I don't know how you manage it. The photos were also provided. I received it from Brigadier Covender. I also requested Warrant Officer Steenkamp to see if she could identify the persons on the footage and facial comparison, and she indicated in her report she could not conduct any comparison or identity based on the mythologies.
Can I read you my notes in that regard?
Yes, certainly.
The footage was then downloaded. A still photo album was also provided. I received this from Brigadier Governor. Simultaneously, I also requested Warrant Officer Steenkamp to identify the firearm on the video clipping and facial comparison. In the report, she indicated that she could not conduct any facial comparisons based on her methodologies.
Yes.
But I can leave it for afterwards, it's hard to record every single word.
It is hard to?
I will leave it at that. I won't take it further.
No, I'll continue reading. It's just extremely difficult to do so. I think you also have a problem seeing there. I'm not saying you're not seeing what I want you to see, merely that it's difficult, strenuous on the eyes.
I'm prepared to leave it, Worship, in the interest of making progress.
Okay, you may continue in the meantime.
What I want to put to you, Colonel, is that you, of your own accord, said
Worship, I viewing the clippings, I will not be in a position to say that it's a firearm, a real firearm.
Yet, in your statement, as has been pointed out to you, when you applied for the warrant of search and seizure, it's your A27 if you want in your docket, you never referred to it as what appeared to be a firearm. Agree with me?
Shots, Your Worship, if you can repeat that one.
Yes. When you made your statement in A27 to apply for the warrant of search and seizure, you never referred to it as what appeared to be a firearm.
That's correct, Your Worship.
You referred to it as a firearm, and out of fairness to you, you said handing the alleged firearm back to another victim.
That's correct.
Now, through all of your investigations, be it by means of requesting people to identify, to enhance, and to look at the photos and the video, you cannot, as a fact, say that that is a firearm. Do you agree with me?
On the video clippings, that's correct, Your Worship.
What you used to identify it, and you did express your own reservations out of fairness to you, what you did use, you said you're not a ballistics expert, but because there's muzzle flash, you were of the view that it was a firearm. Is that correct?
Shots were fired, and because of the muzzle flash, Your Worship, a firearm must be used.
I want to put to you, sir, that the stage firearms and they're referred to as blank firearms also emit muzzle flash. Do you have any comment?
Your Worship, I'm not aware as indicated. about it, like the firearms or a ballistic expert.
Now, what I want to ask you, sir, is you said that from where the shots were fired on the side of the stage, during the reconstruction, it was at more or less the same area where the cartridge was found. Do you remember that?
The direction more or less.
You know, I want to put you, sir, that was contradicted by the witness who testified to finding the cartridge. Do you have any comments?
Your Worship, I've got no comment on what the witness was testifying.
In fact, I want to put to you, sir, that the spent cartridge that's relied upon by the state is found far out of range from where the alleged shooting is said to have taken place. Do you have any comment?
No comment, Your Worship.
Now, in that instance, when you spoke of a reconstruction, once again, just for clarity, because we have different definitions of the word reconstruction, you're referring to where the witness pointed out to you that she had found the cartridge. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, that was photographed, and you're aware of that.
That's correct, Your Worship.
In fact, I believe you were in court even at the time it was handed up as an exhibit. Is that correct?
I cannot recall it, or the recollection.
Well, were you here on the first days of trial when the witness who found the cartridge testified? I can give you her name and her details if you want. Really?
Your Worship, I'm aware of the witnesses and what she pointed, where she pointed out, the photos was taken. That is correct, Your Worship.
So you were in court when she testified, is that correct?
Your Worship, I cannot recall if I was inside or outside. But the witness did testify, Your Worship. I can confirm that.
Well, I want to hand you what we have as Exhibit A.
Okay.
I know there might be differences, Your Worship might have it, because there are several photos and there's some deliberation between my colleagues and I. But we have this as Exhibit A. It's the photograph of the stadium. On your terminology, reconstruction, where was that round or the spent cartridge found?
Your Worship, if I can...
Referring to this one, Advocate Otis?
No, that's why we have different ones, Worship. That's the difficulty I have. If I can hand your Worship mine, you'll see where we see
You
the
can
difference.
just... Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, the only difference is yours is a bit forward and mine depicts an empty stadium, a full stadium, and yours an empty stadium.
No, that's why I say that they're different, Worship.
Okay.
My learned colleagues have the same as I have.
All right, but I've taken note of what you've shown, so I'm aware you may keep your copy and proceed.
Brilliant.
Your Worship, if I can see the photo album also, I can point out because I'm not familiar with this photo here. I see the what do you call this thing? The flashlight, the lamp pole,
Yes.
the floodlights. It was in that vicinity of the floodlight. If I'm correct.
you had no difficulty, Colonel, telling the court earlier that during the reconstruction, which you've established wasn't a reconstruction, at more or less the same area where the cartridge was found, as pointed out by the witness. Now I want to know where you're referring to, Colonel.
Your Worship, on the side of the stage.
Which side, the left or the right facing the stage?
On the left hand side, if I face it this way.
The left hand side facing the stage, yes. Now, Colonel,
That's the direction.
I'm going to hand to you Exhibit A3, which is the one that you had requested, of the witness, and photographed. In photograph 8, you'll see what she's pointing to. You'll see, and I'm going to help you, that photograph 8 is described as being the witness pointing out where she found the spent cartridge. You'll do it if you look at the key.
It's more or less in front of the floodlights, Your Worship.
If you're facing the stage, it's on the left-hand side. If you're on the stage, it's on the right-hand side. Is that correct?
Yes, left where I'm facing. That's correct, Your Worship.
You've been to the scene, you've seen it. Can you give us an indication of the distance that the witness is in photo 8 to the stage, to where the stage was?
I will not be in a position to give you a distance, Your Worship, but a direction more or less.
Colonel, then you weren't qualified to say more or less in the same area.
The word he uses direction, not area.
No, you used the word area. I disagree with you. I'll put a note
I specifically clarify that with the witness to ask, does it mean area or direction? And he said direction.
In his evidence in chief, I'm not sure what word he used now. Are you referring to now, Advocate Julius?
Your Worship, my learned friend did clarify it, is correct.
Yes.
But the witness of his own accord said more or less the same area
As
where
the
the
flood.
cartridge was found. As
Not
pointed
the
out by
same
the witness.
area as the floodlights.
Yes, sir. He didn't mention floodlights, Your Worship.
He mentioned
no,
the
saying
floodlights now,
Yes,
during this
yes.
2 questions ago. Okay, nonetheless, sorry, the last one I got now from it, he cannot give us an estimate
Of the distance.
of the distance, and you then stated then he cannot qualify to give
The area.
the area.
Thank you.
Is
That's
the
No, because it's pertinent to this matter that if you had reconstructed the scene, having used the term reconstruction more than once, you would have been able to do a test to see where and in what direction the cartridge would have been ejected from a firearm. Do you agree with me?
Your Worship, when it comes to ejections and those things, again, it falls within the ambit of a ballistic expert. But correctly so, if that was done, you could have given an estimate.
Well, then let me rephrase the question for you, Colonel. Neither you nor any ballistic expert reconstructed this scene.
That's correct, Your Worship.
So nobody can come to court and speak of areas and directions without being very vague, because no actual reconstruction was done. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
And there was no reconstruction in the true sense of the term reconstruction, where the stage was rebuilt and tests were conducted to see how far away from the stage a ejected spent cartridge would fall. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Now, if one looks at the video as well, the first point that comes to mind is that it was dark, it was night time. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
The second thing that comes to mind is that there are more than one shots fired by this apparatus. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Yet, despite diligent searches using metal detectors and bomb experts, all that one can refer to is some type of a spent cartridge that was found at a distance from the stage. Do you agree with me?
The cartridge was found at that particular spot, Your Worship. That's correct.
You aren't in a position, as you've told the court now, to even give an indication of the distance where the witness is in photo 8 to the stage. Do you agree with me?
That's correct, Your Worship.
But if one has regard on a